Before the Ranger Creed is recited by a formation of Rangers at any ceremony, you will always hear the narrator say this: "Will all Rangers, past and present, please join us as we recite the Ranger Creed?" Every Ranger will stand, and as they say those six stanzas, they are transformed back to a time when they had the pleasure and the burden of this brotherhood. That feeling is hard to describe. However, it's one that never leaves you. It's a connection that spans the globe and can be reignited when you hear the phrase, "Hey, Ranger, what battalion you from?" Amongst this formation, there are Rangers that stand out. They are legends of this elite organization, and when their names are spoken, people instantly have a story and for a moment relive it. Legends of the 75th podcast wants to capture that feeling and those stories. We're going to ensure that these legends' triumphs and sacrifices never fade away. So sit back with your favorite adult beverage and listen to the stories from the legends of the 75th. All right, everybody, if you can't already tell from freaking my intro, I have one of my favorite human beings on this podcast along with Joe Clark, but I can't fucking not laugh whenever I'm with Sweet. Like he always has a way of just making me smile, making me laugh. And as I was doing the intro, he's sitting there smiling, and I was like, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh. You got to get through this. So, but anyway, hey, I have the absolute pleasure of sitting down with two individuals that also accompanied and went on the trip for the Journey to Kabanaton. Sergeant Major retired Joe Clark and CSM retired Brian Stover. Brian Stover did over 27 years, 15 deployments, spent time in 275 and RD, and then also AWG and other organizations across the Army. He was also inducted into the Ranger Hall of Fame. Sergeant Major Joe Clark, 23 years in service, 12 deployments, did time in 175, 375, and then also RD and AWG and countless other organizations across the Department of Defense. So, gentlemen, it's an absolute honor to sit down with you guys. You both. I wish we could have everybody from the entire Journey to Kabanaton on like one Zoom call, but that would be a lot to manage. But anyway, it's amazing to sit down with both of you and kind of just talk a little bit. Hear about your kind of time in the regiment, and then we'll talk about, some of the stories and everything, and then we'll definitely get to the Journey to Kabanaton. But right off the rip, anything anybody wants to say?
Yeah, I'm not in the Regimental Hall of Fame, but Joe Clark is.
Oh shit, did I mess that up? Okay. All right, Joe, I'm sorry. I meant to reverse that. And then also for Brian, you are a distinguished member of the 75th. So I'm sorry, I messed that up. Yes, Joe, you are a Ranger Hall of Fame member, which we actually have coming up in in June, the next edition of that. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I'm going to be there, and it's one of those things that I'm going to be there to. Okay. I actually wrote up a nomination for my best Ranger partner, 92, Tyson Nick, former 175 Ranger. We were in the same platoon, competed best Ranger, and then he ended up dying after retiring from the unit at Bragg. He got out, took a job with another agency, and was killed within 6 months. So wow. He's going to be inducted in the Ranger Hall of Fame. But, like you've talked about before about imposter syndrome, there is no bigger imposter syndrome. I mean, even when I felt that way as a platoon sergeant, and then an RD team leader, there's no bigger thing than you're standing up in front of people talking at the Ranger Hall of Fame, and you're like, how did I get up here? Kind of like that turtle on a fence post mentality.
Yeah.
I've been that turtle.
That's a good analogy. I like that.
Yeah, the turtle on the fence post, and somebody one day picked me up, and it's all those Rangers I worked with. They're the deserving ones.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely not a legend, but.
Well, Joe, I think there's a lot of people that would probably disagree with you. And I will say this, and it's too late. We named the podcast, but it's not about like individuals. It's all about our time and, the things that we went on. But just exactly you said, like we're all turtles on a fence post. There's probably only like two people, that I would say they're the true legends of the 75th. And that would probably be McChrystal and McChrystal, Mike Hall, I guess we could say Darby as well. Some of those individuals that are larger than life and, really are what the regiment is all about. But the rest of us are just mere mortals, but we had the honor of spending some time there. But I do want to make a plug real quick, Joe. Definitely let's chat. I am planning on bringing a team out that's coming out to the Ranger Hall of Fame, working with the Ranger Legacy Foundation to capture what that event's all about and do some of the interviews. And I'd love to sit there and talk about you not only you being inducted, but then also, your nomination and the story behind that. So let's definitely make some
great.
that. That'd be
Sounds
great.
great.
So yeah, because we're trying to help the Ranger Legacy Foundation kind of get out there what they're doing, and a lot of people don't know that they're very instrumental in the Ranger Hall of Fame now as well. So
is that with Candace Bryant?
it is. Yeah, it is. I was actually just exchanging some emails
You
with
talk
her.
about a legend.
Yeah, no shit, right?
Candace is involved in so many things in
She
the
really
Best
is.
Ranger competition, the Ranger Regiment. I mean, her story is incredible. How
Yeah,
she got involved and got offered the job,
it is.
working
Yeah.
with the Ranger Regiment.
She reached out to me, and I don't really ever spend any time at Fort Benning until I was in SVAB, and by then I'm kind of a little bit disassociated with the regiment, so I didn't really know who she was. But when the first time we sat down after she reached out and said, "Hey, I'd love to talk about how we can help each other," and then she told me her story, I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, I'm honored you included me in this conversation. Like, holy crap, yeah. She's got a storied history with the Ranger Regiment and Rangers in general, and she's done a lot for everybody, and she's going to continue. The Ranger site they're talking about building is pretty amazing.
Great.
Yeah. Well, Swede, you're being freaking unusually quiet, man.
No, I'm just listening to the great conversation here. Hey, real quick before we jump into Joe, thanks for doing that because I remember Tyson put me through RD selection, and then I saw him on a bunch of targets overseas, and
he's a
and
legend.
yeah, and got to go to his wake there at Bragg with some other incredible mentors and legends, and it was standing room only. It was amazing how many people he's touched and influenced in his career and post career. Run to the sounds of the guns. A lot more people probably would have been in trouble that day if he didn't take the quick action he did. So awesome job recognizing somebody, Joe. I mean, that's phenomenal.
And that's one of the responsibilities you get once you're inducted in the Ranger Hall of Fame is now I can nominate people. And with the U.S. Army Ranger Association, we were able to put a little more weight behind it besides myself. They picked him as one of their top three, and they were able to get his packet because the hardest part is getting the nominees before the board. But the problem is there's only, I think it's less than 300. I'm not sure what the number is now that's ever been inducted in the Ranger Hall of Fame. And
Yeah,
so
I feel like I need to know that number
it's
actually.
still like in the 200s, which is amazing when you think about all the Ranger, Darby Rutter, Damner, Murray, Snyder, Mucci, all the other people that we know and we learned Ranger history about. But no, Tyson is I'm very humbled when his wife Stephanie started sending me his records with all his valorous awards, and I know the guy had done a lot of stuff and he impacted a lot of us, but I had so many people that reached out to me and it was very tough because we knew Tyson very good and close. We were brothers, and to write him up was not easy because especially a fallen comrade, but I just had to do it. But I didn't do it alone. I had his family, some other Ranger buddies, Tom McDormand and Chris French provided some good info that assisted to make this packet go through. And he was a first time select, which is doesn't happen all the time.
No, it doesn't. No, it
That's
absolutely
awesome.
doesn't. Well, hey, Joe, I wanted to spend the first kind of 20 minutes talking about your career, but we went down the path we went. Can you talk about the Ranger Hall of Fame? Like what is the significance about it? What is the design behind it?
Well, interesting enough, unless you're assigned to Benning, you probably don't even know about it. When I was inducted, that was the first Ranger Hall of Fame I'd ever been to.
Oh, wow.
So I had no idea. I just thought these are all the guys that climbed the cliffs at Point du Hoc, and you got the Granges and McChrystals and Mike Hall and all these other heroes and legends of the 75th that are true legends. And I didn't understand that there was such a small select number. I figured, looking at the size of the Ranger Regiment, there would probably be 1,000 people at least, because you think of numbers of current Rangers and you look at from the whole history of the Ranger, not even the Ranger Regiment before that, and back in Vietnam, World War II, Korea, these are all personnel that are still being inducted. And the thing is, they have a board.
Mhm.
You got to be nominated by somebody who's either one of the Ranger associations or a Ranger Hall of Fame member. And then they select
I think
They
all
have
the battalion CSMs too, and the regimental CSMs are
the
brigade.
regiment. The regiment gets to select the people that they put forward.
You're
So the
right. Yeah,
Ranger
yeah.
Regiment, the range, it's not just Ranger. That's a key point.
No, no. Yes,
It's
yes,
not. It's also Ranger training. The Air
yes.
Force, not Air Force, the Airborne and Ranger Training Brigade. We
Yep.
used to call it RTB. They have their own process. So you have people that go into the Ranger Hall of Fame that were maybe in the Ranger Regiment, maybe they weren't, but they served and made an instrumental they were instrumental in something going on at the Ranger School or one of the other schools there. So that's one thing I didn't know. I thought it was a ranger. I think a ranger, and we always hear this question, what is a ranger? And I think, okay, my first question is, did he go to ranger school or was he an operational member of the Rangers? But the Ranger Hall of Fame is both.
Yeah.
So it combines both of them because there's a lot, some of them that were in the Ranger Regiment, other ones that are not, but they're great leaders and mentors for a lot of us, and they did great things. So, but
Yep.
they have a board. I'm not sure how. It's kind of like a SMU board, I guess. You don't really know who's on the board, so you can't persuade them.
Yeah.
But they have voting members, and they take your packet or whoever's packet goes before, and they scored. The way I understand, I haven't ever sat on one, kind of like a 1 to 5. And
Mm.
so each person gets to rate that packet, kind of like for NCOs getting promoted, probably the same for officers, is you rate it, must select, you know, meets the needs, if we have slots. But this is basically a 1 to 5. That score stands alone. And then they tally, however, all the board members and they give a score. And then the top 15 of all those, there might be 50 packets, I don't know, any given year. And then what they do is they take the total, kind of like a peer report, I guess. They take the top 15, and there's also an honorary member of the Ranger Hall of Fame that was never in the RTB or the Ranger Regiment, but had a direct impact.
Mm.
And so typically there's an honorary member of the Ranger Hall of Fame, and then there's, I think, 15 former Rangers that are inducted every year. So that's not a lot. I can't remember how many years it's been going on,
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
but I think since like 92, if I remember right. So
Yeah.
that's not a lot of years. So the additional years we're getting caught up on Rogers Rangers and a lot of these other people
Yeah.
that we speak of that we have no idea, but we know their history.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to definitely dive into the weeds. I got to do a lot of homework about this before June. So is it June 24th or 25th is actually the ceremony?
I think the 24th is the dinner.
Yeah, and then
They
the
have a
20,
dinner the night before as an invite only.
yeah, and then the
And
25th is
and
the
the
ceremony.
25th at like 1 o'clock is typically the
Yeah, it's at
ceremony.
Marshall Auditorium at Building 4 at Fort Benning. So if anybody's near, it's definitely probably worth coming out to. So that'd be awesome. I appreciate you kind of highlighting that because I think you're spot on. If you don't know because for whatever different kind of reason, then you just don't even know about it. But it's a significant event that's honoring Rangers, and we all should be part of it.
The other thing that's really I didn't know, and I'd seen the names at the Ranger Memorial on
Hmm.
the back wall. They have names of every person that's inducted into Ranger Hall of
Yep.
Fame. Their
I
names are
didn't know that.
their names are engraved into the
Yeah.
Ranger Memorial on the wall in the back wall. So that's not that many names if you
So
look at it.
like not on the arch, on the actual wall itself.
In the very back.
On the very
No
back
kidding.
where they have some of the war like Grenada, they have
Huh.
a monument or they have other ones
Oh
that are
shit.
for different wars on the wall are actually engraved. So after the Rangers are inducted in the Ranger Hall of Fame, then their names are actually engraved into the wall. So
No kidding. I didn't know
I
that.
never knew that. I just saw a bunch of names on there. I had no idea why they were on there, but they were all people that I
You
knew
didn't
their
know it
names.
until your name ended up there. You're like, oh
Yeah,
shit.
it's on there until somebody crosses it off or who knows, or puts a sticker on it. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. Well, too, also, just to add to the selection process, it also goes out, all the list of all the nominations go out as well, and names can be killed, based off of, influential people within the regiment, before they even actually go in front of the voting board. So
Yeah, there's a thorough selection
very much
process,
so.
which makes me even wonder more, how I got through. But but it is quite the process and quite the honor.
No, I want to. Well, I want to. I do want to, Joe, kind of dive into your career. We've done an episode with Brian already. We talked about his career in extents, but before we kind of hop back into your career a little bit, Swede, what is, when you think of like the Ranger Hall of Fame, you think of all the great things that we've all get to be a part of. The journey to Cabanatuan and stuff like that. Like, and now you're even with the regimental, the honorary regimental commander now be part of the Emory program that you're doing for your MBA and everything else. Like, I just kind of like to, hear about, all the things that you're kind of thinking as we talk about all this stuff.
Yeah, no, it's a couple of things. So I think, Joe put in Tyson. There's another individual, Bob Horgan, that got put in who was killed in action in '05 in the summer. And he was with us out there out of Ramadi, and that was a really tough summer. But I'm really glad to see somebody put Bob in there too. He's a 375 Panama guy, and he was really close to one of my mentors, Mike Fedowitz. And so Mike and him were on the team when that happened that night out in Western Iraq. So that's pretty special that both those guys are going along with everybody else. Another amazing crew this year. To be honest with you, when I saw you down there last year, Mike, for Ranger Rendezvous and the Hall of Fame, that is really the first time I've had a chance to experience the Regimental Hall of Fame.
Right.
And normally, you're rushing from event to event, or you're an NCO of something, or you're an LNO of something, and you're trying to make everybody's experience seamless and special.
Yep.
But being retired now, it was phenomenal. I stayed with a mutual friend, Dave Morales, and I just came and went to the episodes or the events that I wanted, and I really wanted to be there for that because there was a lot of great guys going in last year, and just being able to sit there and listen to their stories because they're all just so genuine. And sometimes you've been there on that target with them, or you went through that very tough training revolution with the individuals, or you were there when they had to make that decision that you didn't understand it as a young Ranger, but my God, what an awesome decision that was for later on, for the future, for the regiment. Unfortunately, this year I can't make it. I've already got another event scheduled, unfortunately. But yeah, it's awesome. And being retired, I can kind of manage my schedule a bit better. I will always try to get down into the sport that I just think one, it's my heart is filled seeing Rangers. It's different. You're never going to find that team, or it's hard to find that team like you did in the regiment or some of the other units that we got a chance to serve in. And so when I come down there, I mean, since that engagement last year, I've had a chance to do several things with Rangers, and I've just, been elated, to be honest with you. And when I tell you that my heart's been full seeing you guys, it's just not lip service. I mean, it's really changed me. And I really keep in touch with folks, and I really look forward to the next event that we do. And if I can't physically be there, try to sponsor it or support it any way I can. I just think what we've done and what we shared is pretty amazing. And I just don't want to lose touch with that team that's really helped shape the person that I am today.
Yeah. I will tell you, this has definitely been, well, when I say year, I mean not calendar year, but the last year has definitely been a full Ranger Cup. Like, we had the 50th, we did the journey to, but I mean, even, and a lot of people don't know this, before we even did the journey to Cabanatuan, we were doing IPRs like multiple times a month. We were, doing all different kinds of coordination stuff. We were on phone calls, like, trying to coordinate things. Like, it was nonstop. And I don't think that everybody always necessarily has an appreciation for what we accomplished in less than, 5-6 months, from basically like, okay, hey, we're going to do this. So let's put a team together. And then, you add in the media side, that was a whole different freaking, nightmare, itself. But, so it's really been an amazing year, but I think it's also a testament, Brian, something that you said that I think everybody needs to hear is when you participate the events in uniform, they're cool. Don't get me wrong. Like some of the reunions that I've been a part of, Ranger Rendezvous, like, I mean, they're one of a kind, but you're exactly right. It's just an event before the next event. And that event might be live fires, TFTs, deployment, freaking block leave. It's just an event before another event that, you're already, especially in leadership positions, you're already thinking about that while you're participating in that. But when you're, the graybeard, as we call us all now, and you guys are doing actually a little bit better than me, which is not very often. You're actually doing great on the gray part of it, better than I am. But it's different because you're just there to hang out. You're not worried about, are your soldiers drinking too much? What the hell are they doing? How they doing on the football game, or whatever it might be. You're just there to see your buddies. And my reason for highlighting that is find a way. Get out to one of these events. If you served in the regiment, and it doesn't matter, but go to a Ranger Rendezvous, go to a reunion, go to the Ranger Hall of Fame, something, because it just as Brian said, it'll do your heart good.
Yeah, I think it's important too, just to remember, whether you did 27 years or you just did 1 4-year commitment and then, you moved on to something else, you'll find your tribe at whatever event that is.
Yes.
And within seconds, it's like you've never left the tribe. Yeah. And there's nothing more telling than the 50th when we were all at Lewis. I mean, it was just it was nonstop reactive contact. You couldn't walk 6 feet without seeing somebody you haven't seen in forever, and you just pick back up. Whether I was a private in 1993 or I was their first sergeant, in 2008 to 2010. But yeah, I agree. It doesn't matter how long you served or whatnot. Just go and get resubmersed in the culture and just enjoy, because it's not always going to be there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, I think this is a good pausing point. So I'm gonna stop us real quick for the 20-minute preview kind of break here. So, hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you want to hear the rest of the story, is we're going to sit here and we're going to talk a little bit about Joe's career, some of our mutual time that we've all spent together, also the journey to Kabanaton, and just, overall what the Ranger Regiment means to us. Please consider becoming an exclusive member. You'd not only be able to unlock this episode, but the 76 other episodes we've done with members of the Ranger Regiment and some of the stories that we've told. And then also there's a lot of episodes where we've done like mental health roundtables and some other events. So definitely get over there, get over to the Patreon page and become an exclusive member. We'd appreciate the support, and all of the money that we raise is about capturing Ranger history and preserving Ranger history. I promise you that any money that we're raising right now is going straight to Journey to Kabanaton to tell that amazing story and the trip that we took over there and the actions of 6th Ranger Battalion. So definitely consider going over there and being an exclusive member.